I'm calling this meeting of the Board of Water and Sewer to order at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. This meeting is being recorded and is live streamed on Channel 1072, though I heard the other day that Channel 18 is still active. Channel 8, right? Is it Channel 8 or Channel 18?
I don't know.
Never mind. Around the table today, we have Commissioner Bob Rich, Tim Coonahan, I'm Chair Ginny Farber, Kevin Mahoney, Mark Burson. In the room, we have Todd Bunzik, the Water Superintendent, and Sue Brown, the Assistant Water Superintendent. We have Rich Waldo from DPW and Calvin Sutton from DPW, and we have Marina Rauchi and Jesse Freeman. And anyone else from Veolia? Can you want to introduce?
We have Leanne Morgan, she'll be taking over as our area.
Oh, it's Monahan. but that's
Monahan.
okay.
Monahan. It was close. Okay, we also have Mike Salitro from the town manager's office. Is that everybody? And members of the public. So welcome. The first order of business today is an opening statement that I'm going to make because today we have with us retiring Water Superintendent Todd Bunzik, who is retiring after 36 and a half years of service to the town to the day. Todd is the only man I know who walks around with the entire map of the water system in his head. He's on every call. He's always available. He's a resource that I don't know how we're going to take up that slack for a while because we're going to have to use real maps. But you know everybody, you know everything, and I want to thank you for all your years of service. It's been a pleasure to work with you the last couple of years.
I thank you, guys.
Here, here.
Here.
With that, I'll let you guys go.
Okay,
I'm gonna
thank
go
you.
along. I got one, I work through Monday, so
Okay, I hope to see you in Salty around.
I'm not going anywhere.
Okay. I
Thank you,
think
folks.
so. Okay, thank
You're
you. In addition, I would like to thank Reggie Donahue from AECOM for his years of service. He has just retired, though I think I've heard rumors that he will be in town and working a little bit on some projects. He's been the face of sewers, or the public face for sewers for phase 1 and phase 2, always taking people's calls and being really, really helpful. So thank you for your service, Reggie. And also announcing the retirement of John Meyer from our board, who, oh gosh, he's been involved in wastewater in Orleans at least since 2015, and maybe before that, and has been on this board forever. So he has timed out and is retiring as well. So thank you, John, for your service. I have one other announcement, because I do this at every meeting I attend, which is to announce that the Department of Environmental Protection on June 9th raised our drought level to level 2 once again, so we had a 1-month reprieve. So water restrictions remain in place. And I also want to thank the members of this community for their conservation efforts to protect our shared natural resource. The next order of business is public comment. Is there any public comment in the room?
That's our chance.
Yes, this is your opportunity. Yes, thank you. If you could come up to the, either, any of the mics,
Right
and
here's good.
just introduce yourself. Yeah.
Okay. Hi, I'm Brian Nelson. I'm a resident here. I enjoy living here with my family, and a lot of my relatives come up here to visit and what have you. And we've enjoyed this town either through vacation or the home that we purchased for about 40 years now. I don't pay too much attention to the news because it's generally not good. So when I got this notice about my sprinkler system being on, which I don't think it was, because I've had it shut off. I started to educate myself about what was going on in the village and the Cape and the state of Massachusetts itself. And I coached and played a lot of sports, basketball, baseball. And the only thing I would ask from the refs and the umpires is that you be consistent, good or bad. And when I started looking into the restrictions that you had, and who's allowed to water, who's not allowed to water, how you want the watering to be done, quite frankly, didn't make sense to me. The public spaces, the baseball field over here can use water to keep it green and what have you. But yet on my property, which is not that big, I can't keep my property green. Now, I admit that we're all in this together. If there is a level 2 drought, and everybody should do their part, not just we're going to pick and choose winners here. So when I started looking at it and looking at other towns, where you said I could hand water from 5 to 9 every night. So that's 28 hours during the week, okay?
5 to 9 in the morning.
5 to 9, well, whatever it is. So I have a irrigation system that's hooked up to a private well. What I would propose is, instead of the 5 to 9, that I could run irrigation from 4 to 6:30, which would cut down on the time. There's no evaporation, and it's much more efficient than hand watering. And I've looked it up on a lot of different sites, and those are the facts that I see. So I know it's very hard to convince you people, like, oh, Brian came and said something, so now we're going to change it. But I just think it's a common sense approach. And if I can't water mine, then I don't think the ball fields, the parks, or what have you, should be doing the same thing, or at least abide by the 5 to 9 hand watering or what have you. I'm just looking for you folks to be fair. I don't envy your position. I know you put a lot of time into this, but I like to be taken seriously. And to me, it's a common sense approach where I'm using less time and a more efficient system to keep everything green. So even to take it to the next step is when the grass dies, right? And I think there are a lot of people in Massachusetts in this area that are worried about our carbon footprint. Well, then when that lawn dies, you're increasing your carbon footprint also. So I'm just asking for a little bit of water, and Monday, Wednesday, and Fridays. No weekends, no Tuesdays and Thursdays. So that would be a total of 7.5 hours during the week. So I think that's very fair. And the other thing, what I don't like about this creates animosity and distrust amongst neighbors. This town should not, be worried about stuff like this, is, pitting people apart. To me, this is very juvenile, and it's not, it shouldn't, in a civilized society, this should not go. That's my own opinion. So I'd wait to hear your comments.
Thank you for your comments. We will,
I agree with what he said.
if you want to speak, welcome to, but you need to come up to the mic and identify yourself. The commission will be addressing this at a later, or talking about the drought at a later time in the agenda. So thank you very much. Are there any public comments online?
No raised hands.
Thank you very much. Our next order of business is the Board of Water and Sewer Commission's policy number 2026-4-15, proposed revision, discussion, and possible vote for a public hearing. And we have Rich Waldo from the DPW and Mike Solitro. Yes.
Madam Chair, just as a matter of point of order, I respectfully move that the time for public comment be completed.
Absolutely. Do you want me to take a vote on that?
Yes.
Could I get a motion to close public comment?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
We need to do it by roll call.
Aye, Bob Rich.
Okay.
Tim Cunningham.
Ginny Farber.
Kevin Mahoney.
I'm Mark Person.
As we are a regulatory body, we
Yes.
must roll call. Okay, so now we're ready.
So I'll give a little brief synopsis of where we were. So a couple meetings ago, we adopted a policy, or the board adopted a policy on how to handle abatements, particularly for sewer, really to prevent the de minimis claims of sewer abatement, particularly as it pertained to water leaks. At that time, the board had adopted a policy, which is in effect right now. As a subsequent follow-up, we just kind of wanted to dot our i's and cross our t's, and we asked for council just to review the policy and make sure it's standard to form and appropriate. And so we sent it off to Mike Solitro. Mike Solitro had worked on it. Last meeting, we came back. We had a draft of the policy, but Mike was not available to really walk us through it. So I know we had some questions at that meeting. So Mike's here. He's just handed out a red line copy of the policy, and let Mike walk through it, and we'll go from there.
Thank you, Rich. Yes, the the updated version that Rich referenced is in the packet. I dropped off a couple of red lines right next to Mark. It might be easier just to follow the changes using the red line. It is complicated, as now that it's been reviewed a couple of times, but it does have all of the text from where we started to the red, where the last changes were, and the blue is what you reviewed last time. So I don't know what would be best to start with, but I will just reiterate that the initial edits that you looked at your last meeting were meant to keep the policy as close to what was written as originally was. I did have an opportunity to watch your last meeting, and I saw that caused more confusion and questions than had been intended. And again, I apologize, I wasn't here to answer those, or at least walk through those. So I just had council review it for a more robust reading, and that is what you are looking at now. So we can review it as the board sees fit.
So let me see if I understand it. We have an edited clean copy, yes? Revised clean copy.
That's what was in the packet, yes.
And we have a blue line copy, which was then generated and then we have this one.
They're all the same
They're all
as
the
far
same,
as the
but-
end product, but if you
show-
just want to
which
see,
show the time sequence.
yes.
Okay. So I guess, I know a couple of the commissioners have some questions. Could we start there?
Sure.
Okay. Mark, do you want to go first?
Yes, if I can just direct your attention to the second paragraph, the last sentence where you define reasonably ability to detect. I find that to be overly complicated. And I think that the test that's presented there with the extra phrasing, to me, just invites argument. I also think that you've unintentionally created constructive notice that is too broad and too harsh. So, if I may, I'd like to suggest in substitution for that definition, the following definition. Reasonable ability to detect shall mean, quote, whether a reasonably prudent property owner, comma, under similar circumstances, comma, exercising ordinary care and maintenance, would have discovered the leak. I think the language that I'm presenting is simpler, shorter, straightforward, and doesn't present, frankly, what I would call ambiguities which might result in some conflict over the meaning. I think this language covers the subject in fewer words and is, from my viewpoint, significantly better than what's offered.
I mean, to me, we can pick apart the words that are already there and find some fault or weaknesses and take time on that, or just go with a change that he suggests. That's what I would recommend. I mean, this seems reasonable.
Yeah, I mean, would you,
Instead of going through and, picking apart what's there as to why Mark may think there's some weakness or ambiguity in it, to avoid that, this seems fine to me, but.
But I want to make sure that Mike speaks to whether Mark's words cover all the possibilities. So because this is a water department policy as well as a sewer policy, to me, when I read this reasonable ability to detect, for the water department, it's always been, if you have ion water, we'll abate. If you don't have ion water, you won't abate. So your language to me seemed to keep the door open for however we decide to do that. And I don't have an opinion on Mark's comments.
Well, Mike, would you consider his amendment friendly? I mean, would you,
I think if it is the pleasure of the board to use Mark's language, I wouldn't be opposed to swapping what his suggestion was to what's in here. I don't think there's much of a distinction. I think that it would work either way.
Okay,
I would agree with you.
so if I
I
can.
mean, in terms of not much difference, but
As long as
That's why
all
I
the
was just trying to
bases
avoid-
are still covered.
Well, I think that this should just be said, that it is virtually impossible to write a policy that is forward-looking to cover every base. I think this does the best with the information that we have. When we have new information, we can reserve the right to adjust the policy.
Okay, so I guess I would ask, is it the consensus of the board to make that?
yeah, I would move that we accept the language as amended by Mark.
Are we talking about this one sentence, or are we talking about the entire policy?
The entire policy.
well, there was some, I didn't want to take up this whole audience's time. There's some nits and gnats that I would suggest we can do it offline. I mean,
We can't do, well, we can do it offline as long as if we did it offline, we can't set a public hearing today because we have to have final language.
all right, want me to just give it there's a few of them or not?
How do you want to proceed, Mark?
They're not of any substance for example, in the 1, 2, 3, third paragraph, abatements will not be considered for leak, should be leaks, or a leak. Things like that. Do we want to, there's some grammar that could be improved, not a big deal.
I think you should make your comments, we'll note them, and I think we should still be prepared to come back with a final version next meeting
That would be the most
before we take it. So I say you guys share your comments that you have, we incorporate them, we make some adjustments, we review them, we come back
Make
to a
sure.
final form, and then we set a public hearing.
Is that okay with you?
Yeah, now, or just,
So do you want to share your comments now? Is that the?
Please.
Yes, please.
all right, do it that way. First paragraph, abatement, reducing a bill for non-usage. Do we need that comma? Isn't it saying reduce a bill for non-usage water loss? I don't think the comma is needed, but not a big deal. The last part of that sentence, or a legitimate service that was improperly billed, isn't that referring to the adjustment language in the next sentence?
I'm going to ask that we don't alter the definition. That was the specific edit
Okay.
from council based on the way the
Okay.
policy is written.
Okay.
So that being the case, then the others, I think I can just pass on. But you can make, the third paragraph, abatements will not be considered for leak, we can make it a leak or leaks, okay. That's it.
That's it?
The others I would, listening to what Mike responded to my first comment, the others will result in the same response, which I get, so I'm okay.
So, let me understand. Are you going to submit those to Mike after
just-
the meeting?
no, no.
Or- Okay, so those are the, okay. Thank you. So I think, let me make sure I've got this right. So what we're hoping to do is to not take a vote on this today, but to send it back to council with those changes, ask that they be reviewed, and then come back with a clean copy for the next meeting, and then we'll set up.
That would be my suggestion. I think we get our comments out, we ask our questions. We've got Mike here, thankfully. Ask any legal questions that we have. You know, let's get it out now. We can go back, refine it, come back. We're in no rush with this policy. We have a policy in place right now, so we're good.
So,
Yeah, if we were in a rush, then I would ask Mark if we can live with what's there, so we get it done, but
We don't. We have a policy in place right now to handle abatements, sewer, to address the de minimis. We're improving upon that policy to adopt one that's
so I withdraw my
more
motion.
consistent.
Okay, so we have no motion. So, anything else?
This help you?
I'll take that.
Okay. Thank you very much. And I think
Welcome.
you guys are up again for 66 and 76 Route 6A, Preservation of Affordable Housing LLC, POA, here, Housing Assistant Corporation, HAC, Habitat for Humanity Cape Cod, Inc., HHCC, seeking waivers from local requirements, including fees. Do you have updates?
I can start with an update there, Madam Chair. The ZBA hearing was opened on May 20th, which I'm sure some of you have watched or were in attendance for. It's been continued to next Wednesday, June 24th. The expectation for that hearing, I believe, is that it probably will be continued to one additional date, if not more. So that is going to be an ongoing process as this project rolls forward. The question that is in front of this board, or is of most interest, which likely may come here, is the question about abating or waiving water, sewer fees, and/or permits. Most specifically identified is the question of a compensatory privilege fee. The question of A, is the application asking to waive that fee? Where will that go? B, and then C, is that a full abatement? Is it a waiver? Is it looking at the project? So where we've landed with council's review to date is that that is likely something that will come before this board once it is confirmed that the applicant is asking for relief in a compensatory privilege fee. And what we want to really iron out between select board policies, the charter, and the Board of Water Sewer Commissioner charter and sewer use rules and regulation is what that would look like. Most likely, it'll be similar to the abatement proceedings that we had for Phase 1, where there would be a formal public hearing and discussed what is being asked, and that this board may or may not be, would be asked to what their thoughts are on abatement. Again, they have not formally asked for, but looking at what was in their presentation packet and what they are looking to develop, that is probably where we're going to land. We have not confirmed that they have the ability to ask for one full abatement versus a partial waiver based on what they're building. So that's what is going to be ironed out, and that's likely what would land here before this board.
But there is no action that we need to take until council has figured that out.
No, I think you've been pretty proactive on keeping an eye on that conversation to date, as well as what's likely to come before you.
Bob?
Yes, Mike, would you refresh my memory as to why they were subject to a compensatory fee?
Sure. So the compensatory privilege fee, just taking a step back, is outlined in the use rules regulations, is the easiest way to think about it is that if you are adding flow to a property, or you're adding additional square footage to a commercial space, you're adding bedrooms to a home, you're going to increase the flow of, so you would need to come before this board and get that.
I'm remembering now the project, and
And their water use right now is 0.
There is no water use there that was tabulated as far as the calculation of initial Phase 1 numbers.
Could I ask what common practice is? I mean, what do other towns do with this kind of housing that's being built? I mean, that have soaring, do they typically give abatements or waivers or whatever it is that we would be voting on? I'm just trying to get grounded in what common practice is.
I think, just to answer your question, doing minimal research on contracts, I think you could find support for any direction here based on town policy, and town kind of support of a project. I think you can certainly find towns that have provided waiving of fees, others that have not. I think you really could find whatever you want to support your position on this. There is not a standard across the state saying we give 74% off for this kind of request.
Right, except that 40Bs do have the right to ask for the waivers. Yes, or they can ask for the waivers and ZBA could grant the waivers.
This is a waiver that is likely ZBA would not be able to determine.
Okay.
That's why this board,
All right,
that's why we're having this discussion. I might get updated information, but that does not look like the case. It looks like for a
I think
specific,
that was the first question, was
for-
do they have the authority to make those decisions? And you're saying that it's unlikely that they do.
right, it likely, then that's what council is weighing. Is this a ZBA question, a select board question, or the Board of Water Sewer Commissioners? That likely will land here.
Okay, all right.
And could I ask how much money might be involved?
I don't have a number that's.
And there are 78 units there, right? I mean, if they're all at a minimum, or, I don't know, so of 5,000 a unit? I mean, I don't know, but is that,
If the request is for compensatory privilege fee, a waiver of that, it's going to be significant. If the request is for waiving inspection fees, it's going to be insignificant. It'll be smaller amount. So I think that's why we're waiting for the legal determination. I'm interested in whether it's actually something that can be waived. Part of me still feels that, an enterprise fund is everyone participates. If you're a part of it, everyone participates regardless of the project. But I don't know that. I don't know that for sure. And that's
I think it'd be
what comes
helpful
down
in the future if you could bring, an estimate of what you thought the number might be in both situations, so that we could at least have a sense of what the magnitude is.
I don't want to ask for that. They have not formally made this request.
Right.
I think this is to get this topic before the board before it gets here. So I would be speculating, as are you now, by saying they're asking for a full privilege fee waiver on all 78 units. That's not what they've asked for. That is what they could ask for, and that number will come in front of you at that point. But I think it's premature to put a number on it.
They have not specified in their application what water and sewer fees they're asking to have waived.
We've asked them to kind of give us a direct question of where we can answer it properly. I'm not being evasive, but I don't want to say they're asking
I don't
for
want
it.
to answer it.
Okay. Well, yeah, I don't want to answer it, I just want to understand it. Yeah.
Mark?
This is a non-for-profit, essentially, I hate to use the word, but development. But be that as it may, is there any attention given to recapture of these fees if it ceases to be in that context? The scenario is that down the line, 20 years from now, some hedge fund buys the whole thing and turns
You
it into
need to speak up,
condominiums.
Mark.
So is there any way of at least opening the door for recapture if it goes from essentially a non-profit situation to a profit-making thing? Because if these fees are waived, and this is theoretical, they may not be, but if they're waived and they amount to tens and tons and thousands of dollars, then, when the property, if it does change hands in any way, then I'd like to see the town have the ability to sort of recapture its investment.
I think just echoing Rich's point, because it's a very good one, that we're not even at the point yet where we have confirmed that we can waive this. So if that is the case, I think the condition that Mark lays out is a reasonable one to at least explore, if not make contingent on any waive.
I would agree that we should keep that in the back of our minds as we go down this road. Are there other questions or comments? Thank you very much for coming in. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next order of business is the minutes of May 2026. Thank you, Marina, for a job well done. There was one change made to the minutes, and it was just in the attendance part, so de minimis. And I think you already made the change before it came out. Okay.
Move to approve?
Move to approve. Second?
Second.
Okay. All those in favor by roll call, Bob? Oh,
Do
you-
we have,
You,
I was not there.
no, so just.
So if I abstain, you still have a,
We still have a quorum. Yes,
Okay.
We're good. Okay,
Bob
thank you.
Rich, I abstain.
I, Tim Coonahan.
Aye, Jenny Farber.
Aye, Kevin Mahoney.
I'm Mark Person.
So that's 401. Thank you. Our next is new business commitments, abatements, refunds. Sue?
You have before you commitments, May 2026 for the sewer department totaling $55,329.70.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor?
I, Bob Rich.
I, Tim Coonahan.
Aye, Jenny Farber.
Aye, Kevin Mahoney.
I'm Mark Person.
That's 500. Next?
Commitments, May 2026 for the water department totaling $8,724.94.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor by roll call, Bob?
I, Bob Rich.
I, Tim Coonahan.
Aye, Jenny Farber.
Aye, Kevin Mahoney.
I'm Mark Person.
That's 500. The next new business is to appoint a wastewater management advisory committee representative. I've done that for the last couple of years and would love to continue.
I would nominate Ginny Farber as the wastewater management advisory committee representative.
Second.
Are there any other nominations? So close nominations by vote, please.
Okay. I, Bob Rich.
I, Tim Coonahan.
Jenny Farber.
Aye, Kevin Mahoney.
I'm Mark Person.
500, and a vote to appoint Jenny Farber as the wastewater management advisory committee member. Bob?
Oh, yes. I, Bob Rich.
I, Tim Coonahan.
Hi, Jenny Farber.
Aye, Kevin Mahoney.
I'm Mark Person.
500, thank you very much, appreciate it. Sewer department reports, DPW wastewater update. Thank you for joining us today.
I enjoy meeting with you guys. You
I
know, we got a lot of good
I
stuff
know
done.
that. The feeling is mutual.
And this one's an important one, so I wanted to be here to be able to just kind of go through it. You opened up with some very nice opening remarks about Todd Bunzick's retirement. Todd's been with the town, I believe, 36 years. He started out as,
Have today.
okay, 36 and a half. Started out as a laborer, worked through the chains, you know, became water superintendent, and has been in that position for, you know, over a decade now. So you had talked about big shoes to fill, and we 100% agree, and we've been working on some strategies on how we're going to replace Todd, you know, upon his retirement next week. So a couple things that we're working on and has already been worked out. So for those of you that don't know, you know, Calvin, our deputy director, prior to becoming appointed deputy director, he was the water department foreman. Calvin holds a host of licenses, you know, water licenses, but as well as wastewater licenses. So with that, we promoted Calvin to a different role. He's not only Deputy Director of Public Works, but he's now Deputy Director of Public Works and Utilities. So he's going to have more of an overencompassing role into the water and the sewer operations, pretty much overseeing the water and sewer department from this point forward. Calvin's going to be involved in these meetings. We are going to kind of go through a slow transition. I'm going to be here always part of this, but just to get him caught up to speed and deal with a lot of that day-to-day stuff as we go into, hiring a new water and sewer superintendent. So with that, the segue goes into Todd's title right now is water superintendent. We have changed that role to a water and sewer superintendent. Realistically, because that's the role that they have now. They provide all the billing for sewer. They deal with a lot of the sewer management. So with Todd's retirement, we changed the role of that position to a water and sewer superintendent. We advertised that position and we conducted interviews last week to fill in that position. We haven't hired anyone yet, but we soon will be making a recommendation to the town manager to fill that position. So very excited about that. I feel very confident with the team that we're building that can replace Todd. That institutional knowledge is impossible to replace, but the ability to take advantage of technology and changes and, strong asset management program and being able to document where your pipes are in the ground, where your valves are, your age of things, that's where it's most important. And that's where succession planning becomes most critical, is the ability to know that stuff. And I got to say, our team has been working on that for years in terms of asset management. We're still improving upon it. I believe we had a meeting today with our asset management team to continue to build on that. So that's where things stand in terms of Todd's replacement, and hopefully next time we meet, we will have a new water and sewer superintendent in position. With that, moving on to phase 3, I just want to go ahead, Mark.
Okay. I know this is a little out of my role, and it's sort of making a heavy suggestion in connection with the administration, which you ably handle. I think Todd's institutional memory is ready for AI. And I think if you did a little work and, it's sort of like storytelling, if you will, where if that could be connected to the right program, it would be absolutely marvelous. The only reason I know about this is I heard about somebody who did it with surveyors, where somebody had been a surveyor, for X town, and everything was in between 2 years, and where all the lines were and so forth. And so it's a pretty exciting possibility.
So if I didn't make it clear, we agree with you 100%, and that is really the system that we have been working on, which is the mapping isn't a map on a piece of paper anymore that you carry around. A map is on a tablet where you zoom in and you can start seeing the infrastructure. And I think, the team has been working to map all the assets for quite some time now. Now, occasionally we come up with something that's not mapped appropriately, and we got to backtrack and figure out what is the right correction for mapping stuff. But this team has been working on asset management for quite a while in terms and using AI best we can as it continues to evolve. I mean, I think we're just scratching at the surface of AI, and it's only going to get better. But we've already been working in it, which is huge. But I appreciate the comment.
The only other thing I would add is ground penetrating radar. You know what that is?
Ground penetrating radar.
Yeah.
Yep, it's very common in our industry to use that, not only for pipes underground, but also rebar and bridges. Just kind of watched a presentation the other day about analyzing a bridge structure without actually opening up the bridge. You can use ground penetrating radar to see how the steel's conditions are and stuff like that. So 100% agree with you, and that's the direction we're moving in. In terms of phase 3, so last time I was here, we talked about the bids that we received. We got a very favorable bid for phase 3 construction. The next step of that approval process is to go to SRF, present to them what our budget is, the construction contract, and then we get from them an authorization to award. Since last time we met, we've been going through that process, and we have received approval from SRF to authorize the award for Phase 3 construction. So right now, that's in the process. If it's not done by the end of the week, I'd be surprised, but if not, next week, we'll have an executed construction contract for Phase 3, and we're already starting to talk about a pre-construction meeting happening, which will be happening very soon. So that project is moving forward. Phase 2 construction is pretty much wrapped up. We have a handful of punch list items that we're still working through. You see the line striping at Town Hall parking lot, little things are getting done. As the residents are coming back, we're starting to hear some of their little concerns of whether it be their road or this or that, and we're kind of addressing those as we go. But for the most part, by the end of this month, I believe the Phase 2 contract's going to be pretty much wrapped up.
Just, I don't remember what the numbers were. Can you just repeat what the bid was and what our budgeted for that bid was for Phase 3? Do you have?
It's in my memory, but the bid amount, the low bid amount, which includes the ad alternate, was about 18.5 million.
Mhm.
We had projected 24.4 million for a construction number.
Yeah.
So
But that
Good
doesn't
save.
include police.
it doesn't include, exactly, doesn't include contingency, police details, engineering oversight, things like that. So when you put that budget together, we're still within the appropriation. As I said at town meeting, I think at the end of the day, we can give back, hopefully in 3 years, up to $10 million in appropriation, which is huge. I mean, that's a quarter of what we had budgeted, which is great, and hopefully it continues to go for the next phases that we go through. So,
Nice work.
And that's at 0%. It gets passed on to everybody.
yeah, exactly.
Good news.
And I think the last part of the update that I have is we need to start thinking about renewing Veolia's operational contract. So what we have in place right now is the ability to extend a contract for up to 20 years, or a total 20 years. And that's the longest contract that you can do in municipal government is 20 years. You've got to go to town meeting approval for anything over a 3-year contract. We are at the point where we're getting close. I believe it's next July is the first renewal timeframe. So I believe it's next July. We have the ability to renew it for another 5 years. We have to give notice to Veolia 6 months in advance, whether we're going to renew it or not. That takes place in January. I'd like to get ahead of that if we could. That timeframe tends to be very busy for budget season, things like that. So next meeting, I'm likely going to have a draft of their contract, or we'll have the contract in your packet, and we can just start talking about the Veolia contract, something that we'd like to comment on, what we're happy with, what we're not happy with, and just kind of start making the process to make a recommendation that we renew for another 5 years. My goal at that point is really to say whether, which I know you can't. You can't execute a contract, but you can make the recommendation of extending the contract. It's just whether that recommendation goes to the select board or that recommendation goes to the town manager. I believe it goes to the town manager, but I'll have that confirmation next month.
Great. That's terrific. All good news.
That's it.
That's all good news.
Thank you.
Congratulations, Calvin. The next item of business is wastewater management advisory committee update. Kevin Galligan can't be here today. He's at a seasonal communities meeting. So that leaves it to me. And I think I'd like to take the first part, which is the update on Phase 2 sewer connections. And since, John, you're in the room, how about, and just gave me the numbers half an hour, 45 minutes ago, but this is your baby, so. It's John Nelson.
John Nelson. Yeah, now I remember it. I forget the numbers I gave you.
Oh.
I think there was about 375-ish connections
far.
overall in
Yes.
Phase 2. There's probably close to 70 to 75 applications in already.
Yeah.
There's about 16 or so, I think,
We
connected.
said 15 to 20.
Is there 24 altogether connected?
24 flowing? flowing.
Yep, and there's
Fabulous.
several that are complete with final as-built submitted and everything, so it's
That's
been pretty
great.
busy, moving quite a,
This is really good news.
so I think phase 2 is going very well.
Great, thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
The second thing that we talked about at wastewater management was Mike Gigi from Wright Pierce, who is one of our consultants, gave a presentation on wastewater treatment facility performance. And it's pretty technical, and I think it occurred to me today that what I should do is just send out the slides. There's nothing earth-shattering, nothing that you don't report in your operating reports. In fact, most of it was brought in from the operating reports. But I'll get hold of those slides and send it out to Veolia and to this committee.
It'd be great.
Okay. And the only other thing we talked about was some future agenda items and the possibility that we'll be canceling July 23rd and August 27th meetings. So that brings us to the Veolia update. Jesse?
Jesse Freeman, Veolia. All right, so this month, pretty calm, normal month, nothing big to report. We processed about 3 million
Can
gallons.
I ask you just to pick that microphone up?
You got it.
Yeah, okay, thank you so much.
Can you hear me better now, Mark?
Much better.
Okay, good, thank you. Yeah, so we processed about 3 million gallons in intake and approximately 500,000 gallons in septage. Our flows are up to about 100,000 a day. This is all good news. The plant is happy as can be as it comes into optimal temperatures, and summertime's a good time for treatment. So far, everything's pressing on as normal. No exceedances, no injuries. Life's pretty good up there on the hill.
Lucky.
We are fully staffed. Utility cloud has been getting worked on and brought in. That's going to be a lovely asset. Marina's been doing a lot of work with Sue, and I look forward to being able to use that as a GIS and mapping and also work orders, et cetera. It's gonna be a nice tool. It's kind of it. Where we're at is nothing too spicy. Anybody got any questions?
It's all good. Yeah, Bob.
Yes, I'd like to ask a question on the effluent wicks.
Yes.
The wicks, the 5 wicks originally started out to be 80 or 90 feet depth, and now they're down to about half of that. Are they going to continue to become less effective, or is there some remediation we can do to extend their lifetime? I mean, I know we have to re-permit,
Right.
but, I mean, the practical effect of discharging at 40 feet instead of 90 could be totally different hydrodynamics in the groundwater.
Absolutely.
You release up here, it may go here. You release down here, it may disappear out, and the cove would never see it. But this has been one of the things that's been a concern to me, knowing where the effluent actually goes and the impact of them becoming shallower and shallower.
Right. Well, it's one of the reasons we monitor their depth. It does show some collapse and some loss, but that's going to come down to specified engineering and assessment. We'll continue to monitor, and as we approach forward and get it assessed, hopefully we can get a little more better picture of what that impact is. I don't have those answers, but those are kind of the answers I'm going to have to reach out and seek and work with Rich and make sure that what we're doing for discharge is it was working and will work for the future.
I've talked to Tim about this a bit, and,
Harrison?
yeah, talked to Tim Harrison of AECOM about this a bit, and he gave me some information on the geohydrology of, the original studies on flow and such, but it's, I'm a geologist, so it doesn't give me a lot of confidence.
I understand.
So I'm just expressing a concern in the long term that we not get into unintended consequences with these wicks getting shallower and shallower.
Okay, it's a good note. I'll definitely look into some of the engineering answers for that. Reach out to some of the people we know.
Okay.
We'll see how it goes.
Okay, it's sort of a generic question / concern.
No, that's a good, valid concern. We'll definitely reach that out to engineering.
And just so it's not open-ended, is that something you could come back with over the next meeting or two, just to?
That's gonna take a longer answer
It
than
will?
a meeting
Okay.
or two.
Well,
Because
we-
I specifically am not an expert on Wix.
Okay.
It's gonna take me a minute to find the person who can give you the adequate answers and data.
Yeah, I think, you know, if this is something that we want a little more in-depth knowledge, we can bring our more of our resources in. We do have a team that monitors the WICs. We just went through an exercise of changing the groundwater discharge permit where we had to do a WIC mounting analysis and didn't cause any red flags that I was concerned with or anyone else. But, you know, if your numbers, as you're stating here, 90 feet to 40 feet is something that we should be concerned about, we should. But I do know that changing, you know, an elevation of an inch in groundwater amonding is a substantial amount of effluent to, you know, to even raise an inch. So I think with that, we'll just take it as a note, and then maybe next time I'll ask Tim Harrison to come in and perhaps Mike Gigi, and we could
Good.
talk about it, because they're getting all the WIC information. I think some of Mike Gigi's comments were, you know, based on the WIC analysis that he's been looking at, and can answer more of your geological questions. 'Cause
Well, I just hold on. I understand the practicalities and the permitting and all that. We don't want to rock boats that don't have to be rocked. I'm just asking a question or expressing the concern that, given the strata of Cape Cod and how variable it is, and some levels are former stream channels, others are clay, makes a hell of a lot of difference what level you're discharging at, what you're hitting, and therefore where that stuff is going. And I'm not saying there's a problem, I'm just saying we're changing the game the more shallow we get.
Well, I think that's the questions that I want answers, as, you know,
Okay.
are these some of the presumptions that we had, that we expected, you know, the performance of it based on the levels that we're at, particularly now that we hit a new threshold of 100,000 gallons a day, are we still within, you know, the expectation of what we had during the planning phase?
Okay. Well, if we can get an update from Tim, that'd be great.
Yeah, perfect.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Rich. That's definitely, well, it sounds like it's underway, so
Good.
it hasn't been forgotten or overlooked. We'll have some answers soon.
It's one of our most fragile parts of the system, wig wells. Any other questions or comments? Thank you, Jesse.
Yes, thank you.
So now on to the Water Department report. See the operating report for May of 2026.
So I'll just touch on some of the highlights.
Can you pull your mic closer?
I'll just touch on the executive summary or recent highlights. On Saturday, May 30th, I met Charles Kennedy of UMass Water Smart program and took 93 samples to be analyzed for lead from the Nauset Regional Middle School.
Oh, great.
I received plans, it's not in the report, but I received plans recently from Ron Collins for the Orleans Elementary School that I will be submitting to UMass to create a plan for that. Probably sampling won't occur until September at this point, as the schools will be closing down. The M36 Water Audit Grant, Calvin and I met with Ty and Bond recently to go over the draft report. They will be finalizing that report, and their findings are located on page 4 of my report, Water Loss Audit Recommendations. As as part of that, the highest priority recommendation was to replace all our source water meters. As they've been falling off, we calibrate them, but they're pretty much immediately falling off, and that could be part of our problem. They also recommend replacing the finished water meter. I did get some estimates. It's going to be approximately $35,000 to do that project, just for purchasing meters. If we want any engineering assistance, it'll be a little bit more than that. It is probably something we should expedite, so potentially an article for fall or next May town meeting would be appropriate. Lynn had submitted some notes to me. She didn't understand the paragraph about frequency of finished water meter review. That would be the replacement of the finished water meter. She also noted, she was here when we did, in the Finance Committee, when we did our meter replacement program in 2019. What she probably didn't remember is that in 2019, any water meter that was within 10 years, in order to save money, we only replaced the register and the transmitter to bring it to cellular. They were already Badger meters, and they were within their useful life of 20 years. So beginning in 2029, we'll need to reestablish the meter replacement program. In the recommendations, they say 5% a year, which would be about 300 meters a year, which is what we used to do prior to the change out.
And we do that with no charge to it gets.
No charge.
Gets pushed onto them.
It would be a line item in our budget, meter replacement program, to purchase the equipment to do that, yes. Did I miss anything, Calvin?
Okay, yes.
They did also, I will add, they did also suggest that we try and calculate usage for fire flows from the fire department. Currently, we do not.
As lost water?
Yes. If we can quantify it in my statistical report, it could help our unaccounted for.
This has been going on for a while, yeah? So it predates the treatment plant.
Oh, yeah. So the treatment plant went online in '04. So in 2020, our unaccounted for water was high. And the recommendation at that time was, from DEP, was to go, because this is a condition of our water permit, the recommendation at that time was to do a meter replacement program and to do quarterly billing. So with the meter change out in 2019, it ended in 2020, and we were able to go to quarterly billing. Our unaccounted for water dropped to 7%, which is well below the 10% they want us at. It has been slowly climbing since then. The next year was at 9%, and then 10 and 12. So it's been increasing slightly each year. And that's why they're saying perhaps maybe replacing the source meters now to go along with it. And in addition to replacing the source meters, if we add cellular transmitters to them, and we have what we're billing, our water meters in the distribution system, we know the usage, and if we know the usage for that, if there's any anomalies, we can detect water main breaks. So that would be really helpful in that unaccounted for water as well.
So in connection with the lead in the schools, is there any information sharing or connection between, say, that program of testing and the Board of Public Health, or is there any communication with the pediatric community in connection with this?
We don't have the findings yet, but certainly there'll be recommendations that come out of the report when we have findings and if we find any lead. So the school will know, they'll be notified, the superintendent of schools, there'll be recommendations to minimize the lead for the children, and there'll be grant opportunities to purchase new fixtures that would be lead-free.
So would there be testing of the children if the lead was askew?
Potentially, sure, I guess it depends on how much and what this, how much information, it'll be up to the school to notify parents and such, and from that point, they would be directed to their, all kids in, the pediatricians do test all kids for lead, and if there's something that shows up, then they start researching as to why, and this would be one of the things they check.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? So next, we have the drought update.
All right, drought update, here we go. So on June 9th, we were increased from a level 1 to a level 2. I did print and add to your packet my tracking of the well in Nickerson State Park, which is part of our Water Management Act permit. So for those of you unaware in the room, we have a permit with the state of Massachusetts to withdraw water. As part of that permit, there are conservation restrictions we are required to follow. There are permits and there are registrations. Wells 1 through 5 are registered with the state, and wells 6, 7, and 8 are permitted with the state. So we have a registration requirement to meet with the state and a permit requirement to meet with the state. Both have conservation restrictions in them that we need to follow. So when the Executive Office of Energy, the Secretary of Energy and Environmental Affairs declared on June 9th a level 2, by permit, we are required to follow their recommendations for that level 2 drought. In this case, is handheld watering and drip irrigation only.
Thank you. Any questions or comments?
Yeah, I'm curious, so one of the comments that was brought up earlier at the public discussion was town facilities, right, parks and things like that. What are the guidelines/rules? Are they statewide, or are they something that are unique to Orleans?
No, there are statewide regulations with regards to these levels and what's allowed and not allowed. So town properties are not included, but parks and recreation has an exemption. There are certain exemptions in these restrictions. So Eldridge Park, whether for good or bad, is exempt. Town properties, however, are not exempt.
Okay, so things like town hall or schools, yeah,
Not exempt.
okay, thank you.
Any other questions or comments? No? Okay, thank you, Sue. Last item on the agenda is old business future topics, which we've been skipping over recently in great part because we've lost a couple of members, and we need to revitalize that. And Kevin has his annual mission matters is still on this list, and you have been thinking that the best time to go over that is when we have a full complement of new members,
I think that makes sense, yeah.
and use it as in part an introduction.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then we can reassign people's. Okay, is there anything else? Okay, can I get a motion to adjourn?
Move to
Move to
adjourn.
adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor, you can just yell.
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.